Ohjelmayhteistyössä mukana
Tervetuloa peliohjelma Scoren pariin. Nyt on aika siirtyä pelitähtien, uusien pelien ja e-pelaamisen maailmaan. Tänä vuonna oli poikkeus maailmassa, kun oli pandemia korona, joten Gamescomin suuria pelimessuja ei järjestetty Kölnissä. Siitä huolimatta Score tarjoaa sinulle parhaimmat ja uusimmat pelit. Tervetuloa mukaan! Tämän vuoden yksi odotetuimmista peleistä on Cyberpunk 2077. Tässä tiivis paketti pelistä.
Cyberpunk on CD-projektin seuraava projekti ja peli. Ja tavallaan mä toivon, että siitä tulee yhtä hieno superhitti kuin Witcher 3 aikanaan. Siinä on niinku, se taustakin on tosi makea siinä mielessä, että se perustuu semmoiseen vanhaan roolipeliin, jossa oli niinku sijoittu Cyberpunk 2020 aikaan, ja mehän nyt eletään sitä. Että ainut mitä siitä todellisuudesta on toteutunut on nämä valtiot ja suurimmat megakorporaatiot, niin kuin Googlet ja muut, mutta kaikki muu on, niin kuin, meillä ei ole oikein tommosia niin kuin rockistara supersankareita tai muita, mitä siinä maailmassa oli. Ja se peli itsessään on, niin kuin, jos on Deus Ex tuttu, niin siinä on hyvin paljon samaa siitä, mutta sitten se Cyberpunk-maailma on niin kuin, tavallaan 80-luku nähtynä nykyajan silmin, että se on semmoista neonväriä ja räiskettä, ja mä toivon, että siinä maailmassakin on samanlaista, että se on niin kuin tavallaan vetää yhteen että vanhan maailman tapahtumat ja sitten tulevaisuusvisiot, vaikka me eletään siinä tulevaisuudessa jo nyt.
My name is Kendal Husband. I am a senior level designer at CD Projekt Red's Krakow studio. I've been in the game industry now for about 13 years, mostly working in Canada, but now I'm in Poland working on Cyberpunk with CD Projekt Red. Cyberpunk 2077 is an open world action RPG game set in Night City. It's a city that's trying to bring you to your knees. It's a place obsessed with glamour, power, and body modification. The inspiration for this game came from Mike Pondsmith's vision of Cyberpunk 2020. It's a pen and paper RPG. It's been out since probably I think 88. He made Cyberpunk 2020. We've drawn a lot of inspiration, and we're actually working with Mike Pondsmith on Cyberpunk 2077. So you can swap out a lot of your body parts for, you can modify your body. As you saw in the demo there, you can open some of the doors that you couldn't previously. You have strong arms. You can shoot a lot of different guns. You can rip off the turrets. You can use people as meat shields. You can hack various devices. And a whole lot more. There's a lot to be seen when the game comes out. So depending on the choices you make in the beginning of the game as well, so like your backstory that you pick, a lot of new options will open up for you. And depending on the skills and perks that you set as well, other options can be opened up to you as well. So there's unlimited options of what you can do in the game. For me, I'm a level designer, and it's always difficult, but it's always a fun challenge to tackle. So trying to create a city that's never been done before, that's a big challenge, especially when there's a sort of a lack of reference or something to draw on. It's a challenge. Well, the general process starts out with a gray block, and that's where I come in. I am a level designer, so I have to make sure that I make something that sort of makes sense and something that you can tell of what it is. And then when I'm done my part, when it's happy and it flows well, everything plays well, I'll hand it off to our artists after. So just for an example, they can choose sort of more things along the Netrunner playstyle, where they can start hacking objects and look into computers, and that can enable them to unlock some dialogue they couldn't have before. Or if you don't feel like hacking into objects and stuff, you can just go guns blazing if you want as well. So Keanu Reeves, he's a really good guy to work with. He brought his own personal flair to the game. We gave him some sort of a script to follow, but he looked at it and he made some of his own really, Keanu-like things and put his own Keanu flavor on everything. I draw inspiration from a lot of my travels. I travel a lot in between projects and during projects as well, but mostly I draw from my hometown in Calgary, Alberta, Canada.
Cyberpunkin niin kuin lähivastine on, mä luulen, roolipelimaailmassa taitaa olla Deus Ex, mutta se, siinä on tyylilaji jo hyvin erilainen, että toi Deus Exessä on vähän jopa filosofinen ja pohtiva lähestymistapa, ja sitten Cyberpunkissa se on mun mielestä selvempi, semmoinen seikkailullisempi ja tarinallisempi, että se koittaa niin kuin tunteiden kautta viedä sitä juttua, että siinä on niin kuin rajuja yksittäisiä hahmoja ja kertomuksia.
My name is Philipp Weber and I'm a quest designer at CD Projekt Red. I've been with the company for 5 years and I've already worked on the company's previous game, The Witcher Wild Hunt, and now I'm also working on Cyberpunk 2077. So basically Cyberpunk is a genre that started around the beginning of the 80s. There were famous movies like Blade Runner, there were books like Neuromancer, and then especially in our case there was a pen and paper RPG called Cyberpunk 2020 by Mike Pondsmith. And this pen and paper RPG is basically the basis for our game, and we basically want to make our version now as a video game. You know, we make some changes, but we try to keep the spirit of Cyberpunk basically alive. Smith is basically working with us on Cyberpunk 2077, which means that story teams like the quest designers or the writers, we can actually talk to him. You know, sometimes when we want to have his opinion, you know, we can ask. And of course, when he saw the game for the first time, that was also a very, very good moment for us when, you know, he could see the game and then seeing his reaction. So it was also very positive. Well, basically Cyberpunk 2077 will be a big open world RPG of the dark future. Basically takes place in a city called Night City in California. It will be a big city. You can go anywhere in the city. You can drive your car. And what CD Projekt has always done is basically we try to tell really good stories, and we tell our story with quests. So you have the main quests that lead you through the main story and many, many different side quests all around the world. So basically you can play the game however you want it. Basically you can choose skills from many different directions. As an example, there's skills that can turn you into a netrunner. And a netrunner is someone who can basically hack systems or even hack people. Because people in Cyberpunk, they have so-called cyberware that, you know, can give them different abilities, and as a netrunner, he can actually hack those. But on the other hand, if I want, in the fluid class system, I can also choose some skills of something that we would call a solo, a guy who's basically a big soldier. You can be a heavy solo, you know, with armor and big weapons, or as an example, someone who fights really fast. Basically, the choice is yours as a player. Well, I think for us, the highlight is simply how alive we want the world to feel, and we try very hard to actually do that with all our different departments. As a quest designer, we always try to give you all the choice and consequence you want. So if you play a story, there will be decisions. You will interact with characters, and depending on how you interact with them, there will be consequences later in the game. And there can be many different consequences that you maybe didn't foresee, and all of those basically play together. So if one player plays the game, and another friend of him has played the game as well, they have not played the same game. They can talk about their experiences, but their story that they experienced will really be their own. And as an example, other departments, we have interactive scenes. We have cinematic designers that work very hard on when we talk to other characters, it's completely interactive. So we can walk around, you know, as an example, I can comment on a character's shirt if I recognize. If I, as a player or character, I know, oh, there's this band in the world, and I see a character with that shirt, while he's talking to me, I can say, oh, hey, that's a cool band. And then maybe that character will later, you know, maybe he likes me better after that. Well, basically, we do have our own engine, Red Engine, and, you know, we're continuously working on that. And since we worked on The Witcher as our first big open world game, we have learned a lot during the development of The Witcher. And, you know, that is for tech. We've learned, you know, how to optimize better, and now we can basically get way more out of, you know, the same hardware, as an example, that we could with The Witcher. And also when it comes to, you know, story and design, we have learned to make that game while we were making it, and now we can actually use many of those lessons to maybe try and go even a little bit further, you know, where we were good at, we try to even go higher, and, you know, maybe sometimes something that some people didn't like, maybe we can now actually fix and make better.
Ohjelmayhteistyössä mukana